right, welcome back to the Low Sticks podcast. I'm Jason Retz.
And I'm Eric Detman.
All right, this is our fan episode. We are here at the end of July. We've got Worlds just around the corner, but we want to just catch up on all the exciting track stuff and upcoming cross-country seasons that are upon us. It's been a pretty eventful or memorable season as far as high school racing, collegiate racing, and even pro racing right now. With all the craziness going on, the double thresholds everybody's running and all the kind of crazy workouts. So we're just going to start from the top and see where it takes us. I am intentionally going to start my watch right now because we could probably go on for hours for this. So we're going, I'm setting the limit here at 30 minutes.
Smart.
So let's talk about the end of the high school season. Holy cow, Nike Nationals. I mean, we just threw everybody together. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was, and having been there, in person, standing on the backstretch, it was really interesting to be a part of that experience. And it was funny because the skies opened up and the rain started falling and it created this, drama before the race. But it was cool to see all of these kids in one race going at it. Nobody's ducking, somebody else, like sometimes we might see at the professional level. It was just really special to be a part of that and be able to watch those kids do that kind of stuff.
We were at the Festival of Miles at the end of at the beginning of June and getting to watch several of those guys race the mile, and it was just electric with the high school teams and even into the pro race. And we've got, fortunately or unfortunately, we have several national championships, right? Even ones that are going on currently, which is a little wild. But it was nice to see a lot of our really good high school athletes, male and female, all show up at the same meets and compete against each other and not duck each other. Unreal and great racing, most important.
Yeah, that's what I really loved, especially about that mile, was it was such great racing. I was talking and standing next to a couple of people who I heard like, what do we think they're going to run? Like 354, 355. You get all these people into one race. Like this might be, the greatest mile of all time. And I was thinking to myself, that would be great, but these guys all got egos, right? And nobody's going to set this thing up to be a 355, 354, 353, whatever race. None of those guys, at least in my opinion, based on what I thought, were going to, be the guy who's going to take it through in 256 and let everyone just kind of sit on them. So I know, this isn't always potentially the most popular of opinions. I was actually excited that it didn't go out as fast. Would it have been cool to see a 358 race? Sure. I just loved seeing those kids race. And at the bell, there's 9 kids in it and 300 to go. There's 4 different guys charging to the front of that race to try to win the thing. Like there was something that was really exciting about that.
The coverage of our media outlets that we have through MileSplit and social media. I don't remember the last time where I saw a race field and I knew pretty much how every single person in the field raced previously, what their styles were. And I was standing up screaming at the TV, telling people to go early because they couldn't sit around and wait, and it just wasn't happening. It was watching the pro field, and it was fun. Not to put those guys on a pedestal, but just to know how that they're racing. You normally only you watch the Washington guys race, and you see them in college, and you see 4 of them in one race, and one of them's going to the lead to set the pace, and you're just like, well, if you're not on Washington's team, you should probably challenge for the lead here. Otherwise, they're going to just set this up for somebody and just destroy people at the end, which we saw happen at the NCAAs as well. So, it was just fun to watch, knowing how all those guys raced. Super enjoyable.
Totally agree. Yeah, I loved it. It was so fun.
But they're racing a ton. I mean, I don't know how you pull that off.
Yeah, I think, some of it, I think that's become a bit more of the norm. So it's just like an expectation out of some of these kids that they're going to go late into the season. I think that the way that some of those kids are in coaches are probably setting things up. They're going to do some in-season stuff. You've got Arcadia, some of those other types of meets, but everything else is pretty low key with an emphasis on Festival Miles or Nike Outdoor Nationals or USATFs or whatever it might be. I just think that, they're just trying to emphasize more June, whereas the majority of us are emphasizing more of May.
Yeah. That team state title is pretty special. The individual part's fun and fun too, but it's just crazy to me that as we sit here and talk today, there are still high school track national championships going on USATF. Like, it's just, you're not going to get anything quality late in the season out of the distance crew when they're 2 weeks away from starting their cross season. It's just not going to happen.
And I think you see that to an extent, right? Like, when I think of, USATFs that's going on now, I feel like obviously the middle school level kind of dominates that, but you don't see the top tier distance kids still going on. There's some for sure. And, if that's the right move for that kid and that coach, like, by all means, that's what they should do. And maybe they're working on some things. Maybe that kid didn't have an early season like some of us. But yeah, for us, we really try to focus on, like, after Nike Outdoors mid-June, like, we're gonna kind of shut things down and go from there. Here's what I'm curious about, Jason. There were so many cool performances. I'm gonna put you on the spot because we haven't talked about this yet. But is there one that's kind of singularly sticks out in your mind as like the best high school performance that you saw or that you felt like you saw this year?
Man, that's tough because there were several fields. Daniel Simmons, Timo's kid, raced unreal, but he was set up in fields to run fast. It wasn't necessarily championship racing. So when you look at individual performances there, do you look at championship racing? Because Simeon Birnbaum's championship racing you couldn't hold a candle to it at the end of the season. The way he ran races intelligently, he ran fast, but he didn't run lights out. Man, I don't know. I don't know if I've got one off the top. You throw me on the spot. You got one off the top?
Well, mine's cheating because it's not a distance race. But we have a gal in Oregon who long jumped 22 feet 4 inches. And seeing that in person, I was just like, wow, I just witnessed a human being fly. So a little bit cheating. And I had some time to think about it because I knew I was going to ask you that question. But if I'm thinking,
hold on. If we're going there, we have a freshman in Illinois, Isaiah Whitaker, who broke one of Mondo's world records in his age division 2 years ago and was our state champ. And in his first state meet, going after the state record as a true freshman, the kid is an animal. Lance and I were talking about this just earlier today. I don't know that I've seen an athlete like him. He's a great baseball player. He's a great football player. He's obviously, I mean, if you're literally setting a world record to the current world record holder's standard, you're pretty okay.
Where is he from in Illinois?
Bloomington. He goes to Bloomington Central Catholic. They're in our conference. So my to be sophomores will never have a chance probably to win a conference championship pole vault.
Geez, sounds like it. Wow. Yeah, that's impressive. When like you said, when you beat the world record of a world record holder, it's kind of hard to top that. If I'm thinking of a distance race this spring, that was pretty awesome. I feel like it's cheating because I already talked about that Nike Outdoor National Mile, and that was a pretty awesome experience. But I don't know. I kind of think I have to go with that just because it was fun, to your point, it was fun to watch that play out and see everybody's different move, everybody's different strategy to trying to win that race, because you had 10 guys in that race who thought they could win the whole thing, and to see how they wanted to play it out to give themselves the best opportunity at success. That was a kind of a fun chess match within the actual race to watch.
The other thing there is it was fun to see Lex and Leo throw down, especially after them blowing up in cross country, just to have a grid race there, regardless if they win or not. Just in the position to compete for that. I mean, how many times do we have high school national records go down and then broken again this year? Like, it's crazy.
Right.
420 and fast. Well, 410 sure as heck ain't fast anymore. I'm not sure 4 flat is fast anymore. Right.
I think back to like when I was in high school, and I had success when I was in high school, and That was a time where if you ran 9 minutes, you were a dude. And now I think it's like 78th in the country or something like that. Like, it's just wild where we're at. And it's cool. I mean, it's fun to see. It raises the bar for everybody. It raises the game for everybody. It's exciting that track and field is becoming I mean, it's always been a competitive sport, but just a totally different level now. It's fun to see and watch that kind of transition, and people believing in themselves more than they initially did. I love it. I think it's fun.
All right, so here's my question about NCAA's moving the NCAA meet. Okay, because we just spent 10 minutes there in high school. Why are we? Look, we can argue about why certain places should host certain things. We know that track and field revolves around the sprinter, but we're holding the NCAA meet at the University of Texas at the beginning of June when temperatures are just outlandish. Is there a solution?
I mean, I think the solution is you rotate all over. Listen, I get it. Like, that is not an ideal scenario. And again, as a distance coach, like, people might crucify me for saying this, but like, Oregon is not ideal for a lot of people. Like, if you're a sprinter, this year would have been ideal because the temperatures were crazy, record breaking hot, but that's not always the case. Like, so what's not ideal for a distance runner is ideal for a sprinter. What's not ideal, for a sprinter is ideal for a distance runner, whatever. Like, I just think rotate it around the country, and people at some point in their potential collegiate career are gonna be happy with that location. Everyone's gonna have an issue with it all the time. Plus, you got allergies in Eugene, which are, for the majority of people, if you haven't experienced that, like, it's an awful experience. I'm a guy who grew up in Chicago, moved to Eugene, had no issues, but the longer I live in Oregon, like, the worse it gets every year, to the point where, like, I never used to take medication. Now I have to, because I feel like I'm crying my eyes out sometimes with how bad they are. I also think from a sport standpoint, like, it's beneficial to have our big events all over the country, so that New York, that pocket of track and field fans, can go there, and the pocket in Florida, and the pocket in Illinois, and the pocket in Texas, wherever it might be. I just think that if you build the fan base all over the country, the likelihood of them to come to each of those locations is higher than if you just had it in the same place every time and nobody got to experience it outside of Eugene, Oregon. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because NCAA has been really terrible about either being the South or the West. I mean, no.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we've had a NCAA meet out East, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not happening. It would be nice to see that rotation. Absolutely, it would. And cross country is rotating a little bit more now than it used to. I mean, I'm a little upset with that, just because Laverne Gibson's 45 minutes from my house. But, heck, I'll still travel if I need to go watch. It's fun.
Right. Yeah. I just think it builds the sport in other pockets of the country. And if we truly want to build the sport to a level where we have, incredible fandom from the middle school up to the collegiate level, like, that's a way to do it. And you think about, like, I'm just throwing this out there. I mean, it literally is just coming to my head, but, like, USATF is so successful at the middle school level. And I think because in a lot of ways it's so accessible, because every year, you're going somewhere else. So everybody's excited to be a part of that. Whereas, like, when we get up to the high school or the collegiate level, like, it's every year it's in Oregon, every year it's in Indiana. And that's kind of it. We lose out on the excitement of being around different parts of the country.
Yeah, I agree with that. And people being able to show off what they can do.
Right.
You just got to make sure that if you're running the cross country national meet in Florida in November or December, that the weather's going to be conducive, and you can't control that anyway.
Right.
So
yeah.
I
mean, overall, go ahead.
It was awesome to see the Texas women win in Texas. I mean, that was pretty awesome to watch.
Yeah. Anytime you can win it on your home track, I think is really special.
Yeah. As a Oregon guy says that, right?
Yeah. But even the races themselves, like, maybe they weren't conducive necessarily, or what we would think is conducive for fast times. Like, people were still running pretty quick, and that was exciting to see. And closing really quick, and the races were exciting and fun, and there's a lot of drama in, I think, a lot of those races too, which was exciting. I mean, the guys 800, like, how cool was that to see Will Sumner coming out party? Obviously they probably in his camp had an idea of what he was going to do, but for him to go out and do that and be that guy as a freshman, which I imagine is like an immense amount of pressure. That was fun. That was really, really fun.
Yeah, it was fun to watch, and somebody who had the composure he had as a true freshman doing that, that was pretty awesome, pretty spectacular.
Yeah, we even like Michaela Rose, the LSU gal who won the 800. You know, she was going in talking about trying to get a Thingmo's record, which is cool. And you know, we're talking about, you know, arguably the best 800-meter runner in the world right now. To have that type of confidence to go after something like that, like that's cool that we have people who feel that way about these really, you know, potentially far off things that they want to try to accomplish. It's awesome for the sport. I loved listening to her interview specifically because of that.
Well, and it's not blind to people, you know. We're watching people that have the ability and knowledge to train people effectively and more efficiently than we've ever had before, and to know what a thing is done before, and to be able to match some of those training and racing smarter. Like, so many of those things are more possible. I mean, how many records are falling right and left, you know?
Right.
It's fun to watch. And then we immediately move on to USA's, which was amazing to watch, which in itself, you couldn't everything was great, and there were some very predictable things. You know, the sprints, I think, were fairly predictable with who was going to make it out, but they were fun to watch. But the distance was just, why are our best runners not making it out? Championship racing in the United States is not allowing our best racers to make it out. That's frustrating to me.
Yeah, I get that, you know, and I think that's part of racing. And I don't know.
We're not going to get a world medal. We're not
right. No, I hear you. I don't know what the solution is. Because I don't like the idea of a selection committee, because you do have the stories of people who weren't the guy or they weren't the girl, and then, you know, they had that opportunity to do something at the world level, and next thing you know, that person is contending for a medal at a world championship, or that's, you know, kind of jump started their career to do something pretty awesome. But and then you know, it's funny, Jason, go back and forth, because I also think, like, if they weren't good enough to make it out of the prelim, then they probably shouldn't have been at the world championships anyways. But I agree that they might also be our best, you know, 1,500-meter runner in the country.
Yeah, and it's crazy though, because, you know, I was talking about this with another coaches. You know, if you're in the 10K and maybe the top 3 guys don't have the world standard and it's going out slow, why do you push the tempo there if you've got the world standard? Because if you end up fourth place and they don't chase it and get that standard, you're going. I mean, obviously that's running a risk, but, you know, worlds are 6 weeks after USA's. You may not be in the training fitness that you want for worlds at USA's.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. There's a couple cards you can play there, and whatever works effectively.
Yeah. I was in Hawaii with my brother and a guy named Andrew Weeding, who obviously, you know, has some Olympic level success or USA level success. We were talking a lot about that, like in the 10K. It was, you know, the guys who didn't have the standard, why weren't they, who had a shot to make the team, why weren't they making it fast? And you know, maybe the thought process, and, you know, Andy works with the On Athletic Club now, so you know, he has a little bit of insight into some of those things. But, you know, why wouldn't those guys make that pace fast? And some of it was like, well, maybe if I make it, you know, I have 6 weeks, I can still go chase the standard, which, you know, then it's like 3 10Ks in a 6-week period. But I wonder that too, you know, like, why are 9 of these guys not having a conversation ahead of time? Like, we're going to all run 66s or whatever. I'll take 2 laps. You take 2 laps. He'll take 2 laps until we get to the final 5. And then it's, you know, everybody's on their own kind of thing.
Yeah. And you've got to know, especially the 10K at that level, like, if you're going to just try to lead the whole thing by yourself, you're not going to win. But like you said, if you can get 4 or 5 guys together and be like, look, we need the standard. Like, let's just chase the standard. We know we can run it if we run together.
Right.
Whatever anybody else does, oh well. Like, let's just deal with what we got to deal with and see what happens.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. But it was exciting. I mean, nonetheless, you know, whether guys and gals were chasing the standard and had the standard, didn't have the standard, trying to win a race, whatever, like, this was one of the more exciting, I think, USA's that I can think of in a while, just because of the amount of people who you didn't think were going to win who did, or people who you fully expected to win and did, but not in a manner that maybe you thought that they would, right? Like I think a lot of people thought Nagus would just go out and dominate that race, and with Waskom going by him on the back, so it's like that's so exciting.
Yeah,
and it's so cool to see somebody do that and kind of challenge that guy. And I think for 150 meters, American track and field fans were holding their breath, like, oh my gosh, is Nagus about to get beat? And then he comes off the home stretch and he's good. He's fine. He closes just like he always does. Like, I think those types of things, that was fun to watch.
The problem I was having was I was pigeonholing all these people in a world race and saying, okay, the only way they have a chance at a medal is if the race goes out like this, or the race goes out like that. And then I'm like, do I want them to qualify, or do I not want them to qualify? Because like Nagus, we know can run hard and run to the front, and he has a variety of tactics in the ways that he can run. I mean, I think he's got an outside chance, but I think he's in the discussion depending on how it plays out, that he could be in a medal hunt. But you're assuming Ingebrigtsen's going to go to the front, just string the thing out for as long as he can, and then just lead it the whole way. Well, what's going to happen behind Ingebrigtsen? Is anybody going to go with? What's it going to look like? He ran 3
I think, I think the interesting thing with Nagus, though, at least this year, is he's shown the ability to do that now,
right?
Which is nice. Like he raced a couple of those guys indoors. I forget what Diamond League meet he was at, but he raced Ingebrigtsen earlier this track and field season during outdoors. Like, he's shown the ability to be in a really fast race. I think he's shown the ability to close really well in a fast race, to close equally as well in a slower race, which sometimes is harder to do. Like, he's a guy who I think, outside of probably a Thingmo, like the most likely to win a medal for the Americans in a distance race.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't know that. Honestly, I don't know. And I'm not putting any of these guys down, but I'm not sure that right now the rest of our American crew is on that level, with some of our top guys not making it that I thought maybe could have made it. I'm not going to single them out here, but
well, but that's kind of what's cool though, right? Like, that's, these guys will have that opportunity. These gals will have that opportunity to try to see what happens. And they're all going to dream it. And how many times have we seen that over the course of track and field, people winning medals when nobody expected them to. I feel so bad saying this. Who won the 1500 World Championships last year? The British guy, who I don't think anybody expected him to beat Ingebrigtsen, like Jake Whiteman. Like, right. That's what these races are all about. That's what these experiences are all about. So are these people expected to win medals? No, but are they capable of? Sure. Yeah. I mean, if the race goes a certain way, or maybe they need a little bit of help. I don't know that Emma Coburn was the favorite to win a medal or to win when she did, but things happened and she took advantage of that. That's racing, and I think that's kind of exciting. So I'm excited to watch the World Championships, because I think we'll see some cool stuff.
Yeah, it will definitely be awesome to watch. And the other thing that's really frustrating for us is, and it's getting better, but how many Americans medals get upgraded as the years go on, because people, especially in the Kenyan country right now, are doping and everybody getting upgraded, and we don't know about it. So that's frustrating within itself. We've got all kinds of national records. I mean, if you watch the women's Diamond League races, every race is the top 8 are all setting national records, right? Like,
right.
It's just absolutely wild. But then the guys, if they're in the Diamond League, will do the same. But if they race in the United States, we don't go fast. I don't know. I like championship racing, but we got to go fast.
I loved that mile. What was that last week with Faith Kipyegon?
Yeah. She was
in
a different race. She wasn't even. She was gone.
Yeah. But I was a little bit frustrated that the initial reaction was, oh, she must be doping. It just because it's a female who's breaking 4:10, and the amount of time that she broke that mile world record by, I think it was like 5 seconds or something like that. Yeah. But then when you when you do the math on it, that was a soft world record. It's an event that's not run that often. The equivalent, so I think the old world record is 4:12 or 4:13. Like, the equivalent of that was 3:53. Like, Faith Kipyegon's run faster than that a number of times. Her now world record is the equivalent of 3:49 something. Run, like, I don't think it's like just looking at the number and making an assumption based on that, but actually looking at the number and recognizing what that number means. But she's been on fire, but she's also been somebody who's been so successful for such an extended period of time. Like, I love watching her race because, it's exciting every single time. There's fireworks, whether it's over the entirety of a race or whether it's the last 600 or the last 150. Like, she's just so exciting to watch.
Well, and we could be the old school guy and be like, well, she's got super shoes and she's got pace lights and she's got pacers and we can do all this stuff. But like, the sport is evolving and it becomes exciting, and a spectator can watch a pace light and understand the relevance of where they're at.
Yeah,
I think it helps the average person understand what's going on. Like,
totally.
they say, hey, the pace light is set for the world lead right now or the meet record, and they're following step for step. You have an idea where they're at, and the average person, as they look at the screen and it shows how many kilometers an hour they're going, has no idea what that means. I don't even know what that means, right? But I'm watching, and it's helping the average person see these things and understand what's going on. So if all those things are helping people run fast, it's making it more exciting. That's just all there's to it.
Right. Well, and I think about like other sports do the same thing. Like football has the yellow line, which is the first down marker. Like, that's not a real thing, but that's trying to help the non-expert fan understand what they're trying to do with this possession or what they're trying to do with this play. And people can say what they want about super shoes. Yes, no, I like them, I don't like them. But to your point, like, the sport evolves. There was a point where I believe the pole vault, when it first started, was jumping on like bamboo, wood. Versus now you're using fiberglass. Like, that's a part of sport. And if you look at the spikes that Jim Ryan was running on versus what, our athletes are running on today, like, that's a part of the sport. Maybe we don't like that the times have gotten so good so quick, but I don't actually think a lot of that is super shoe related. I think it's access to information. I think it's, person A sees person B run a certain time. It's like, well, last year I raced at the national championships against them and they were 18th and I was 23rd. So if they can run that fast, I can run that fast. I think there's a lot of different things involved, but I think it's really exciting for our sport. I love how fast people are going.
Is it Will? Is it Jordan? Is it LeBron? Who's the best, right? They're different eras. Tracks
Right.
in that same revolutionary period right now. We're in the same spot.
Yeah. We do know that answer though, Jason. It is Mike.
Oh, yes, it's Michael. But I just want to throw that out there for the people who are that absolutely. All right. So just unbelievable. We're excited for Worlds. That's coming up. All right. So we want to talk about what we've got in store for you. We are through the summer. We're getting ready to hop into our respective cross-country seasons moving forward. We've both had pretty educational and exciting summers and had the opportunity to talk to people, and you've presented at a clinic. I've had an opportunity to talk to some teams. It's been a lot of fun. What do we want to dive into next?
I think we would love to hear opinions of others. So if you've got something that you want to hear us talk about, we're all ears. And we've had some people have reached out, and it's been really cool to interact with those who have, whether it's via email or some other form of social media. But getting questions about some of the things we're talking about or feedback on some of the things we're talking about, that's really exciting. But I think kind of what we were thinking about potentially diving into next was summer camps. Over the course of your summer training, a lot of teams will go off and do some type of camp. And Jason and I do totally different things. I take my team somewhere and we're there for 5 days. Jason does a single day. And there's a ton of value that we get out of both of those experiences. So we're thinking about diving into that and what those experiences look like and what, where we think there can be value for your team, whether it's a single day or a 5 day or something in between. But I think we're really excited to talk about that as, at least for us in our program, we really consider that as like the first day of our season is the first day of summer camp. And that's where our kids start to really get after it.
Yeah. And it's a great opportunity. We can close with the gains that we've seen from our teams over the course of not only the summer, but as our camps and our team days evolved. I mean, I've got scars on my hands from the obstacle course that we were on. It builds all kinds of team morale as we go in. It'll be exciting for us and you probably as well to watch those relationships evolve as the season goes on. So we're going to talk about a little bit about it. We're going to talk a little bit about how we're going to take what we learned about our teams and apply them to the beginning of the year, whether that be through training, racing, how we're going to set that up. what your calendar is going to look like based on the information you've got. I know we've explored it a little bit, but here we are at the start. So we hope to get that to you at the beginning of August, get you ready to go for the season. I know I'm fired up, ready to go. We have our team 5K coming up here very shortly, and I'm excited to see where we're at moving forward. And I know your start's right around the corner as well.
Yep. Yeah. A couple weeks. We're getting after it. So excited for that. But again, if there's stuff you want us to talk about, if there's ideas or questions you have, reach out. We're happy to have those conversations. We really want to listen to what you guys are looking for. So don't be afraid to let us know.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody listening. Like, subscribe, share wherever you listen to us, watching us. We greatly appreciate it. This is definitely a blast to do. So until we see you next time, enjoy the remainder of your summer. I'm headed to Nashville in a couple of days and listening to some country music as my little retreat. So enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll be at you shortly, kicking off the year. So